Today, 9/22/22, we're going to start a review of the third assignment in IA 101, Introduction to Automation. One key aspect of why this introductory course is good is because it starts with the beginning, with the end in mind. So you're starting with the end in mind. Now, the end of coming through this course is either to enhance your job skills so that you can get a new position or to get you a job in mechatronics, one or the other. And either way, having a really good resume is very, very important. The purpose of this assignment isn't to have you write a resume for you today. It's helping you look at the skills needed in the industry so that you're writing a resume for you to have when you come out of mechatronics. Not to say that you want to just use the same resume you wrote a year and a half or 2 years ago. You don't want to do that. You want to tweak it when you get out of mechatronics. But having that end in mind, having that idea of where you need to be in your resume to get the good jobs, in my opinion, really helps focus and send students down the right road. So the purpose of this assignment is to write a resume, but not just any resume. This is a resume that, based on my experience as an employer in the mechatronics world, is designed to sort of make it very easy for that employer to find the stuff that they need to hire the right people. The worst thing in the world are resumes where you have to guess about whether they're going to have the right skills for you, or you have to read through 4 or 5 pages of stuff you don't want to read through. The easiest resumes are the ones you look at it, it's got all the information you need right up front, or maybe worst case, you have to flip one page, and it does a really good job. It's simple, easy to recommend, easy to find things to recommend. And also, it doesn't have any errors or mistakes in it that make it troublesome. So I don't have to worry about my potential employees' skills with basic documentation, because documentation is important even in mechatronics. So we're going to get into this here. So the objective is to write a resume. You could use Microsoft Word if you have Microsoft Word on your computer, or you come into Hack and you use one of our computers in the library, or you can use for free Google Docs. Google Docs is a tool for free. So I have instructions for using both. Obviously, you need internet access. And at the beginning, I want you to read 2 articles. One is called Skills-Based Resume Template, because this is a skills-based resume. Your skills are more important than anything else coming into these jobs. Your skills are key. One key aspect of what mechatronics is trying to do is trying to build those skills. And so our skills-based resume, in my opinion, is the best. Now, I keep saying in my opinion, there is no one right answer. A lot of resumes could work. And I'm not saying there aren't thousands and thousands and thousands of people who got really excellent jobs with other resume formats, because there are. What I'm saying is this is a really good one, and I strongly urge you to use it. And you will not get a very good score on this assignment if you don't use the recommended template. So I want you to read those 2 articles. You can optionally create an Indeed profile for yourself. This is an excellent overall strategy, especially if you already work for a company. Creating an Indeed profile for you with reference to the company you work for builds your credentials overall in the industry. If your boss sees it, they see that you're talking about where you're working, you seem proud of where you're working, they start to feel good about you. And then so openings, they might offer you up stuff when they see a really good resume out there. So you're going to create a resume template to start with, and we're going to do a little of that here in this recording. You're going to use Microsoft Word. I'm going to be demonstrating Microsoft Word as part of this recording. I'm not going to demonstrate Google Docs, but if some of you guys don't have experience with either, I can help you with either. If you guys are completely unused to using any documentation on a computer, then I would urge you to take advantage of Hack's various English tutorial folk who are at Hack and are available to be scheduled and come down and work with them. So sit down, work face to face. Unfortunately, this particular class doesn't have any face-to-face time, but if you do need help, I can also do shorter kind of sessions if you need some help getting into Word. After you fill in this template, and I've got some very specific directions about the skills portion of that template, and you need to follow those directions. You need to fill in your basic information. I have a couple of tips here. One of my tips is don't use your gamer email address, which might include weird slang or slurs or whatever. Keep a professional email address in Gmail or otherwise that is not a obscure or possibly insulting email address. Also, try not to use one of your spam email addresses that you use for everything out there. Use an email address that you will check and not have a huge pile of spam in. Step 5 is fill in your current skills. When I say current, I mean everything you can do really well right now, including internet searches, right? That's an important skill. Keyboarding, Word, all these things you're using to write the resume. Team, if you're part of a team at work. Communication, are you done anything in high school or college before? In your workplace, have you done anything communication wise? Teams, communication, connection with other people, all that stuff is really important. Employees love that stuff. So put that in there, right? And you're going to do a little bit of internet research. And you include any basic skills at the very bottom. Next, number 6 step, you're going to fill in all of your old and new technical skills. Now, this should include your future technical skills of mechatronics. And in mechatronics, you're going to see that we expect you to become a PLC programmer. If you're going to end up with the AAS degree, if you're just going to get the cert, you can't put this in. But if you're going to get the full AAS degree, then you're going to have robotics programming. So I want you to look at the courses that include robotics programming and take a look at the skills you're going to be getting coming out of those courses. The Advanced Motors and Controls course, VFDs, HMIs, things like that. All these things you can add into your skill sets once you finish graduating from this program. So you can look at the catalog description, or you can look at the individual courses that are courses required. If you don't know what those skills are yet, then you can also just look through the table of contents for the book, because most of the things we're going to cover in one way or another. Later on in the course, we're going to hit on some things you're going to learn about, but not get into any deep level of understanding. But so I give you a few hints there. And then also in section 7, you fill in the rest of the resume. This is your employment history. Just fill in what you've got to date. All employment is good if you're a relatively new employee, either coming out of high school or college, or maybe only a couple of years experience. All employment is good. Now, if you're a more seasoned employee with 10 or 20 years, then you may not need to put all of your employment history. You're just going to put the ones pertinent, though you really don't want to show a lot of gaps. If there's a gap for a particular big period of time, then you probably still want to show that employment. It's very important. I want you to remove the objectives section. You do not need any other sections about what my objectives are. If you submit a resume to get a position at a company, you should include a cover letter saying what position that you're trying to, submit the resume for, or an email. And you don't need to show your objectives at the top of a resume. That's sort of, in my opinion, completely antiquated. Nobody really needs to hear what your objectives are in your resume. That should be clear based on what job you're applying for, and it should be made clear, if nowhere else, in your email or cover letter that goes along with that resume.
Hey Rob, can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
So, so you're saying no professional summary or anything like that at the top, no objectives or nothing, just your skills and all of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, and then as far as like when I did my resume with Hack, because I did it with Hack, and they told me just to list the classes out. So now you're saying list the skills out as well, and that were involved with the classes.
I will disagree politely with Hack when they say
No,
list
I
the
mean that's
classes
fine.
out. I don't list the classes out. List the skills you're going to get. In
Okay,
each one of the classes on that list, you're going to be able to pull up the syllabus. You're going to be able to pull up the class description online, and
yeah,
you're going to see a much more complete, much longer and more detailed list of the skills you're going to get out of that class.
gotcha. Okay,
So the skills are more important than the name of the class. All right, so I do also provide you a rubric that you can review and make sure you're going to get full scores on your resume. All right, and so that's pretty much it. So what I want to do now is talk about in a Microsoft Word format how we're going to do this. What I say at the very beginning is start off by using a basic resume template. So let's go into that and we'll start talking a little bit about how you would fill that in. So if you are a Microsoft Word person, you have that on your computer at home or wherever you are, please open up Microsoft Word. I'll give you guys a second to do that. And since I have Microsoft Word already open because I'm looking at this document, all I have to do is say File, Open, and actually File New. And what I'm going to do is type in resume in that little search bar underneath. Actually, mine popped up with resume and cover letters format. So, basically, what I suggested you do, if I pop over to my Word document, is you use the plain resume template, right? So let's go underneath File, New, type in resume, and we're going to go look underneath the one that just says resume. Wow, they've updated these templates. There's a gazillion of them now. Let's see if I can find a plain resume template. There it is. Or you could use the color resume. I'm just going to use the plain old black and white resume template. All right. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to hit create. And now I've got my resume template. So it's got a little assistant now that pops up in Word, which I am not going to use. I'm going to close that. And let us recenter this. And here, right at the top, it gives you your template. Now, what did I say about objectives? I don't want any objectives. So what you're going to do is you're simply going to select that and hit delete.
Are you trying to show the other document?
Oops. Yes, I was. Hold on. Let me undo what I just did. Okay. So this is the basic resume template. So the first thing I suggest you do, actually, it's not the first thing, but it's suggested a little later in my instruction document, is to get rid of the objectives. So all I'm doing here is selecting those lines using my drag and drop or drag method, and then I hit delete twice. So now I've gotten rid of both of the title as well as the content section of objectives. You don't want objectives. So what I'm left at the top is skills and abilities, which is really the important part from my perspective for mechatronics. Now, and I have to say, I may not know everything. Every business is a little bit different. Every engineer, HR person is going to be a little bit different, and they're going to prefer slightly different things. I'm speaking from kind of an old school engineering standpoint. We are very impatient. You know, those letters TLDR that are very common now in the internet world, they were created by short attention span engineers who don't have time to read anything. And so we short attention span engineers often hire people now because we've become old and we're managers now for the most part. And so to it, TLDR, don't make us read too much. It won't work for you. All right, so that's pretty much good. Now, here, obviously, you can type in your name, address, and phone number, right? This resume format has got these set up as fields. So you can just click on the field and enter in whatever you want. 1, 2, 3, Mockingbird Lane, LA, California, 0097, whatever whatever Mockingbird Lane is. Obviously, this is a completely made up address. And then you can type in your telephone number and email. This puts all the most important information right at the top. So if they want to call you, they can get you right here. Skills and abilities is where you would start typing in all of your skills and your abilities. Okay. Experience, obviously you type in your job title and the company name. The dates are important from experience standpoint. They show you've got a job history that you know, shows you haven't been quitting every, you know, when you rage quit every 3 months, they probably aren't going to be interested in hiring you. At least many companies won't be. So they want to see that you've worked at least some reasonable blocks of time. Though the current world is such that, I don't know, 30 years ago, you wanted to see that they've worked every, you know, they worked somewhere for 3, 5, 10 years in nice long stretches. I don't think people are quite as concerned about those long stretches now. I mean, if you worked 1 year for 10 companies in a row, they will probably get a little nervous. But showing the dates is important. Showing the job title and the company name is important. Now, to answer the question from earlier, you might mention here was previously known as or owned by, you know, the different company name for a. But if you're currently working for them and you were working for whoever bought them out, you just indicate that as, if you haven't changed your job title, then you just show it as all part of the same experience. Education, you obviously should include in your resume whatever degree you're planning to get at Hack in this resume. So don't forget, this is not your resume for now. It's your resume for when you are done with your planned education here at Hack. Now, if you also want to go get your 4-year degree, we're going to pretend you didn't have that when you wrote this resume. I want you to write this as if you just completed your resume at the graduation of whatever degree you're pursuing here at Hack. Communication, leadership show up in this resume format. These are useful things to fill in. If you really don't have anything in these sections of any significance, like you aren't a team member where you led the team doing something or other, or you're not, you know, you didn't take notes, you didn't write presentations, and you didn't do some communication stuff, just delete these sections. So they are optional sections. Okay. The only section that you absolutely have to have is your name and address, your skills, your experience, and your education. Those are the only sections you absolutely have to have. If you have a hobby that's of interest for a mechatronics person, let's say like you're an amateur microcomputer programmer, you played with the Arduino and you like to make little robots that crawl around the house, absolutely add or change one of these sections into hobbies and list the fact that you're an Arduino programmer or a robot builder or a hobbyist that designs and builds something cool that may be of interest to wherever you're working. So that's pretty much all I want to go through. I'm going to stop the recording.